Well, we have started a comprehensive, essentially, action to bring to American policymakers, to bring to their attention, essentially, the plight of the Iranian people who have been suffering for past more than 40 years of Islamic Republic, that they have been deprived of their basic human rights. And also they have lost a great deal of economic opportunities as a result of that. So we have many different avenues of many different avenues to attract their attention to this just demand of the Iranian people. And we have been quite successful. I imagine that most of them, they were surprised to learn the degree of suffering that Iranian people are going through, and one thing that we did, which is very proven to be very effective, was that getting some professional help in this matter, and that has proven to be successful to bring this to the attention. And then once the policymakers and pundits, they learn about this, it will ultimately impact the decision making in Washington. The foreign policy, the foreign policy makers in Washington, there is a finite group of people that they calculate things and write about it, and as a result, the policymakers will read them, and it will impact the eventual policy. I think what we demand essentially is that we don't want their interference in as far as the policy of interfering within internal politics of Iran. But we think their policy of coexisting with the current regime is a wrong one, because it's the same as if you go back to 1930s, people who were advocating coexistence with the fascist government. It has been proven that these types of government, they continue creating amazing suffering to their own population. As a result, their foreign policy is usually very aggressive, and their existence is based on interference in other people's domestic affairs. So the current attitude that finding a way to coexist with this government, we believe is a wrong policy for the sake of humanity, for the sake of protecting human rights, because a violation of human rights in any corner of the world, it will impact the rest of the humanity. So as a result, it is very important for them to realize that. And we could make a correlation between what happened in 1930s in Europe. They were trying to appease the fascist government of Hitler and there were people who were advocating coexistence with that. And it was proven not possible. So it's the same situation in Iran, that there is no coexistence with the essentially very fascistic government that has no respect for human rights and the population of Iranian people. As I said, I think there should be a change of policy. Right now the government of U.S. essentially we're talking about, they're advocating that they want to figure out a way of coexisting with the current government and to essentially limit their access to or change their behavior, if you may. Their approach is they want to change the behavior of this government. We believe that this is not a question of changing behavior. The nature of this government is such that it will violate human rights, and we think that that should be changed. And as a result, uh, there are other aspects of this policy needs to be changed, and we advocate for those changes. However, we're dealing with the government who's very capable, and they use the social media and other power that they have to create lobbying effort for their protection. Even within the United States, they have a strong lobbying efforts that's undertaken by the Islamic Republic. And the other aspect of it is that the support for opposition, one should realize that, creating an opposition against a totalitarian regime is not an easy task in general. And in particular, Iran is a very unique country because we don't have the traditional avenues of, creating a coalition against the government, because Iran itself, the social condition of Iran is in transition, in transition. As a result, we do not think that the traditional approach of, let's say, religious leaders or the Khans or other traditionally powerful social leaders, they do not exist anymore. We have an atomized population that is transitioning from a traditional society to a modern society, and this government does not allow creation of civil society. Most NGOs and most non-governmental societies that existed in Iran past Arab Spring, they were all dismantled, and the proponents, they were thrown in jail, and some of them, they have been executed. So, there's as simple as trying to help a segment of population. The latest was the people who were helping the small children, working children on the streets with the food and some medical support. They were all, the organization was dismantled and people were thrown in jail. So if we cannot find support among the foreign governments for opposition to the Islamic Republic, it will be very difficult to create a meaningful opposition against the Islamic Republic.